300 million Americans vaccinated by the end of the summer. New deals with manufacturers to buy hundreds of millions more doses. Vaccine supplies to states increasing by millions starting next week. New promises, new moves, new goals from President Biden. And as you just heard from Governor Murphy, it can't come soon enough. So how does this all happen? I've got the person to ask. Joining us now is White House Senior Advisor for the COVID-19 response, Andy Slavitt. He previously served as acting administrator at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Sir, it is nice to see you outside and not at your home cam today. Let's talk about how this all gets done, outside in front of the White House, I should say. Governor Murphy needs more doses of vaccine. I was just talking to my mom in Los Angeles, who's over 65, can't even get on a list to get a vaccine in California. How is this going to work?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm Katie. And look, the American public right now is, first of all, tired of the virus, eager to get vaccinated, not getting clear information, and anxious to make it happen. And it couldn't happen soon enough. And we get that, and that's, quite frankly, what we're doing here and what we're doing here 24/7. The first things we did was we went and we realized that not enough vaccine was even procured to supply to the American public. And as you just mentioned, we took care of that, and we should now have enough vaccine for every American. The second thing we did is we went to the governors on Tuesday and said, look, the first thing we can give you is predictability. Because if you don't know how many vaccines are coming, you're going to open up these sites, people are going to make appointments, they're going to get canceled. We were going to give you 3-week visibility into how much vaccine's coming. That was greatly appreciated. And by the way, it didn't hurt that the visibility we gave them was a 16% increase. Now, I would love to tell you that we inherited a massive stockpile of vaccines that were sitting around. But one of the things we have to do is we have to be the administration that levels with the public, levels with the governors, and do what the governors do and sit down and talk to people and give them the straight facts, not happy talk. And the straight facts are we did not inherit a stockpile of vaccines. So we are working with the two manufacturers to go as fast as they could possibly go. And we also need the states who have over 10 million doses of vaccines sitting in their states that are not yet administered to move quickly and get those into people's arms.
Well, let me ask you this, because there's been some disagreement on our air alone. Dr. Osterholm, who used to be a part of the transition task force for the Biden team, says that he believes that he's changed his mind. He believes that the vaccine should be distributed one dose right now, and everybody should wait for the second dose, but it's faster and better to get everyone one dose immediately. Dr. Hotez, who specializes in vaccines, was on a moment ago with me, and he said that's not a good idea because of the efficacy rate for the first dose of the vaccine as shown in the clinical trials. Where does the Biden administration stand on that?
Well, you just named my favorite Minnesotan and my favorite Texan. Or certainly towards the top of the list. Those are great people, and we need to hear from them. One of the things I think you're going to find different about this White House is we are going to let the FDA speak for themselves completely independently. The CDC is going to speak for themselves completely independently, and we're going to let the science drive things. So this is not going to be a White House where you're going to have people like me coming out and giving my own opinion. We're going to hear what the scientists say, and if the scientists change their view, right now their view is consistent with Dr. Hotez, which is that we all need 2 doses of this vaccine, and we're going to do that. If that were to change, we would obviously take our cues from science. And folks like Dr. Osterholm and folks like Dr. Hotez, will be big influencers, I'm sure, in that dialogue. But it is not for the White House, and the public needs to know the White House is not going to interfere with the best scientific answer.
Can the White House tell us, though, whether those conversations are being had at the CDC, at the FDA?
Well, in my latest conversations with the CDC director, she is very clear that she believes that the 2 doses are exactly what is best. That is this current state of the science. That is the current state of their analysis of the disease. And I'm sure that that's an evaluation that she continues to make. But she's quite confident right now that that's where it should be. And the last thing we want to do is confuse the public by saying that there's so it's all well and good for, I think, people to come in and give their well thought out opinions. But the CDC and the FDA are the authorities here, and I don't think they want the public confused. If you've had a first dose, get your appointment for a second dose. That is really important.
So there are new, more infectious variants of this virus that are now popping up all over the place. The latest today, the South African variant has been found in South Carolina. We've heard from all of our experts on this that we are in for a really bad few weeks, couple months because of the contagiousness of these variants. Do we know about how effective the vaccines we currently have online are against these variants?
It's a really important question, and it's relative not just to the vaccines, but also to the therapeutics that have been established. And in a conversation with Dr. Fauci earlier this week, and I think he said this publicly, the vaccine that people refer to commonly as the UK vaccine, there is very good evidence that the vaccines are working just as well as they do on what we've been experiencing. And the two other strains, the South African, and then there's, of course, a Brazilian strain, just because everybody has to have their own strain. There is some evidence that there is a drop-off in the effectiveness of the vaccine, but importantly, Dr. Fauci says that the drop-off is not sufficient to prevent a response from the vaccine, that in fact the vaccine still does work on those. It may not work quite the same level that it does on the UK vaccine. But we're going to have to watch this closely. The bigger picture is we're going to have a process by which our vaccine platforms are continually updated, where we continue to inform the public of what works and what doesn't, because there's going to be more mutant strains. And likewise, the same with our therapeutics. The monoclonal antibodies and so forth also have to go through the same process.
So part of the problem with the amount of vaccine that's available and getting it out fast could be potentially solved with the J&J vaccine, which is just one dose. The results of the clinical trials are expected to be unveiled within days. When do you expect there to be an EUA or EAU?
Well,
EUA.
EUA. You got it. You got it. Well, look, I'm very hopeful about that vaccine, but I will also tell you that the country's lived too long with an administration, frankly, that counted as chickens before it hatched. And so to count on things that haven't yet gone through FDA, I want the public to know we're making our plans we're trying to make our plans not contingent on any one event. So with the numbers you talked about earlier and getting people vaccinated over the course of the summer, that does not depend on and that does not count a vaccine approval from Johnson & Johnson. So we're going to let FDA do its work. And again, the reason I think it's important to say, Katie, is because the last thing that people need to feel is that there's any political interference in the FDA's process. The FDA should take whatever time's required, because when it rolls out, we don't just need vaccines, we need vaccinations. And vaccinations will only happen if people understand that the FDA had as much time as they needed to do their work. I'm anxious as everybody else, but I also know that they're busy working on it, and I do think we'll hear very soon.
I think it's really interesting what you just said, that J&J is not included in the projections for the number of people to be vaccinated by this summer. We'll see if those projections change once that does come online, if it does come online.
Right.
Andy Slavitt, I know it's cold out there. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.